Hello, it's been a while. As you can tell from the croaky voice, that's why it's been a while. I've had COVID. I'm just getting over it now. So today's the first day when I've really felt like I could really do anything worth doing. So I've fired up the simulator and I've loaded in an aircraft I bought a few days ago, but really haven't had a chance to go flying with. It's the Cessna 414 Chancellor. And got it from FlySimWare for $40. It's still in beta or beta at the moment, and they ask for anyone recording videos to please mention that because there are still unfinished corners of the aeroplane. So we'll keep that in mind, but we'll go and have a fly with it and try it out, have a first look at it. So as you can see, it's wonderfully modelled, and you can see all kinds of nice touches like the covers on the engines and the chocks and the tie downs and things like that. So if we go and jump inside, you will see the inside is absolutely wonderfully modelled as well. So you can see looking around, we haven't got that usual stipple pattern that's quite common on the visors, which is quite cool. Looking around inside the cockpit, it's wonderful. The actual quality, it looks like a photograph quite often. So you can open all the doors and windows and things as you would expect. Oops, let me just do that. And click here for this one. So the steps open out. It's all really nicely done. And we'll just scoot forwards to grab that, pull it back, and lock the door back up. You can change the people that are inside it as well really easily via the tablet. So if we go and turn on the tablet inside the aircraft, it comes up with this screen. So obviously you can see there all the outside stuff like the tie downs and the chocks and things, which we'll remove. We can open various doors around the place, so let's just do that so you get to see them as well. So the various doors around the aircraft open up, and obviously you can fill them with luggage with your loadout. So let's go and close them all again. And again, you can change the aircraft state. We're not going to use that because we're going to go and just flick a few switches. I'll follow my nose around the cockpit. I've had a bit of a look already and a read of the documentation, so that shouldn't be too difficult. There's various maintenance jobs you can do. You can have a co-pilot or not. So if we show the co-pilot, we get this handsome chap sat next to us as per normal. If we go and look in here, we can see some weather data, which is quite useful. If we go and look in here, this is obviously where we can change who's sitting in the airplane. So you can go and fill the aircraft up with people if you want. So we'll just go and do that so you get to see it. Put some stuff everywhere. Sorry, I need to turn around inside the cockpit. Sorry, I'm a bit fuzzy today, but yeah, but you can see it actually looks really remarkably eerie. There's a bit of uncanny valley stuff going on here. Okay, so we're going to go and remove those people. We're not going to bother with them for the flight, but obviously you can see the aircraft moving around if you look carefully as I'm doing this, because obviously the weight is changing. You can go and fuel the aircraft up. There's various pre-flight inspection checks as well you can go and have a look at. But we're just going to go and fly it. So you can hide this tablet by clicking on the camera at the top of it. If you want to re-show the tablet, you have to click in the top corner of this window, and that makes the tablet reappear, but we're going to hide it. We don't need it. Okay, so one of the things that does interest me in this kind of default cold and dark state is these levers are pushed forwards. That seems a bit off to me, but we'll go with it. It means it's something we don't have to do. So that's the other mixture and the RPM. Anyway, or prop pitch, I should say. So down here on the switches to the left of the pilot, you will find the battery master switch and the alternators and the magnetos. You will also find the anti-collision lights, the nav lights, and the pitot heat and the avionics bus to turn the avionics on. So suddenly everything comes to life. The only thing that's non-operational at the moment is the weather radar in the middle here, but this is kind of the default loadout of the aircraft. If you've got the I've forgotten what the exact terminology is for them, the various versions of the 750 GPS, it will slot in and you get a glass cockpit basically. But yeah, if you don't have that, then you get this kind of hodgepodge of retro instruments, which I absolutely love. I love when instruments work like this. Okay, so how do we get the engines working? So we need to go and look down between the seats. I've just almost forgot that. So we need to go and turn the fuel switches on. Mixture is already on rich. Just checking my levers next to me. Excuse me. And we can start the engines. So there is a primer. So we can flick it to either side. So that'll prime the right engine. That will prime left. If we hold the button on, okay, left engine. So we've now got engines running. It's remarkably quiet at tick over, but that all changes as soon as you hit the go levers. Let's have a look outside. It sounds wonderful, actually. I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit for myself because I can't quite hear it myself. Either that or I'm going a little bit deaf with coughing. Okay, so you can see that it's modelled absolutely wonderfully. You can't fault anything about the 3D model. This is probably... I've had a quick fly of it, I have to admit, and the flight model, as you'll see, is very, very good. So we are on the ground at Shoreham. I've got live weather on. It's a lovely, fluffy cloud day in the UK today, so we'll have a see how it goes. So I'm going to centre myself up in the cockpit. Let's drop the flaps to takeoff position. Come off the parking brake and ease the throttles forwards, and you can hear that roar straight away. So I'm just going to gently taxi us out. Trying to avoid this parked aircraft over here. Some sort of Mooney, I think, isn't it? Oh, here comes the police. Okay. So we're going to go... It's an interesting one at Shoreham, actually. The access road is right the way around the outside of the airfield. So we want to go to the far end of the main runway, which is all the way around the outside of the airfield. But it doesn't take long to get there. So this is reminiscent of the 310 in terms of its handling, but it seems a bit more realistic. It doesn't... Although it does sync, you've always got elevator control, and you can... Actually floating, once you go into that last third of the elevator travel, it does have a habit of floating over the runway, which is quite interesting. Okay, so we're going to go down to the end and then turn round. So let's have a look at it from outside while we're taxiing. It's a lovely looking thing, isn't it? But again, it's a big old heavy lump, so you have to remember that. You can't get away with 70 knots with this. Okay, let's go inside. There's lots of sounds of like bouncing and crunching and things like that as you're taxiing around. It's very, very cool. Springs and creaks and groans. It's very, very good. Very immersive. Okay, so we pull out onto the runway here at Shoreham, and we're going to go for full throttle. Just hold the centre line, waiting for the indicated airspeed to increase, coming up to 80 knots, and we'll start to rotate, giving it quite a lot of backstick and a lot of right rudder actually. And we're up. And gear up. Flaps up. Just hold the climb. Admire the beach as we turn out to the left. So we will have taken off on runway 20, so we're going to fly 20 degrees for the reciprocal. So we'll look back in the cockpit to find that. So here's that. Let's just correct the altimeter. I didn't even do that before I took off. This is a bit of a COVID brain, I think, causing some of these issues. Okay, so throttle's back to about 80%. And let's have a look out of the wing at the airfield. Oh, we can't, because the airfield's underneath the wing. There it is. Okay, let's have a look back at that compass. So yeah, we're slowly turning left. So one of the issues with this being a big, sleek, heavy plane is slowing down. I think going flat out it would easily do 200 knots on the level. So we've just come up to about 1500 feet and we're happy at that height. Let's have a look out behind us and see where the airfield is. So let's cut the throttle back and see if we can lose some speed coming back around the corner. Notice you get a klaxon if you pull the throttle back too far without the undercarriage down. And speed isn't really coming off. Oh, it is a little bit now. Let's get the nose up. Okay, so gear down. Now you'll appreciate that problem I said about the speed. It's not really slowing down in a hurry, is it? So diving a little bit so then we can get the nose up. So Shoreham's runway 20 is right in front of us. Speed is starting to come off now. So give it a bit more throttle just to hold it at 100 knots. I don't really want to get much below 100 knots. It's similar to the 310 in that regard. It gets very, very heavy. You almost fear running out of elevator. A little bit of turbulence. Okay. And we're down. So there we go. That was a quick first circuit in the Cessna 414, the Chancellor, from FlySimWare. Obviously I'm going to be doing more videos when I feel a bit more up to it with it, but we'll look at navigation and, you know, flying around the place. It's absolutely brilliant fun. It has been under heavy development. As I said, it's still in beta officially, and there's been lots of bugs apparently. I haven't seen them though, because I held back and came into this story very late. So let's get the flaps back up while we're taxiing back. So yeah, it's as it stands right now, as of early July 2022, it's a fantastic aeroplane. And yes, it's about £30, which is what, $40. So it's not the cheapest of aeroplanes, but it's very, very good. I think it's going to be good fun to go touring with, basically. Do some group flights with it. So yeah. Anyway, let's just go and park it up, and then we'll have a final look at it. It's got a really throaty engine noise. Actually, should we go around again? I just want to try out some stalls, because we've done that with other planes, and it would be unfair to just do a boring circuit with this and not do some flight dynamics type stuff to see how it behaves. So we're going to go back round to the runway. So flaps back to takeoff position. These taxiways are tiny at Shoreham. Let's do this from inside. It's much easier to taxi from inside, I find, than from the outside view. I'm not quite sure how some people manage to fly from the outside view, but they do. I can't control the aircraft unless I'm on the inside. Okay, so we're going to take it up once again. That was a basic circuit we did. Now we're going to go and do some stalls and see if we can get it to not completely depart controlled flight, but to see if it will drop a wing or anything like that. Okay, full throttle. That's 80 knots, and rotate. And we're up. It's a bit like a sled. It's so big and heavy. Okay, so gear up. The first takeoff I used the second stage of flaps, which is why it complained when I lifted the gear the first time. This time I used the first stage, but I needed to be that much faster. Okay. We'll just climb out for a while over the sea. Do this in a sensible way. Just gaining some altitude before we start playing silly games. So coming up through 1300 feet, 1400, 1500. We'll get to about 2000 feet and then we'll start doing some stalls. So it's happily climbing, yeah, 100 knots, just under 2000 feet a minute, which is pretty cool. It's very high performance. Okay, we're level. So we're going to pull the nose up and cut the engine. More and more backstick. I'm now on maximum elevator. There's the stall, and it's very, very docile in a straight line. Those marks you can see in the distance, I can see them in 4K, you possibly can't. They are wind turbines out over the coast of the UK. So let's try this again. Let's try this going in a turn with maximum backstick. And it's just dropping the nose gently, it's not even stalling. Okay, let's get some speed up. Going back towards the coast. And we are going to try putting the plane on its side and giving it quite a lot of elevator to force it around a corner and see if it'll drop a wing. Okay, ready? No, we can go for maximum elevator. It's not going to drop it. So what happens if we push it up into the air? Is it going to roll under? No, it's still controllable. So it's very docile. What about if we then oh, it did tuck a wing under then. I kind of forced its hand. I gave it a boot full of rudder. Let's see if we can make it depart then just with rudder. Not quite. Really trying to force it, but it's not having it. Okay, that's enough abuse of the airplane for one day. Let's go and land it. So we go back towards Shoreham. You can see the airfield over here. We'll try a shortened approach this time. It's interesting, it really doesn't like getting into that last kind of 10% of the throttle without having the aircraft configured for landing. Just trying to see around the pillar to where the runway is. Okay, let's get the gear down then. Okay, let's center the screen up to help ourselves out a little bit. So we're at 80 knots. Let's hold it off the runway. 70. Oh, it wouldn't want to go much slower than 70, would it? I was giving it almost full backstick then. I'm amazed we didn't get a stall warning. Okay, so flaps up, wheel brakes on. But it's very, very predictable to fly. So obviously, yeah, it's not an aerobatic plane, so you wouldn't be expecting it to depart controlled flight. But it's good fun. It's kind of midway, I guess, between things like the Baron and the really big planes like the Twin Otter. There's a Kodiak parked over there. Right, we really will go and park it up this time instead of going on another damn fool adventure. Okay, let's get the brakes on so we make the turn. We'll park it up where we got it from this morning. I think this must be amongst the best sounding planes I've heard in the sim. Okay, parking brake on. So what do we need to do to turn the aircraft off? Normally you would just pull back the mixture, which would use up the remaining fuel in the engines, and then go and turn the fuel switches back to off. It's interesting, you can hear the creaking of the heat in the airframe and the engines. Anyway, so we're going to turn the magnetos off. We can go and turn these switches off first. So we had the, what did we have on? The anti-collision lights, the pitot heat, the avionics bus, and then finally you can hit the master power and then get out of the aeroplane basically. So let's go and open that hatch and have a quick look round outside on the drone camera view. So if we were to go to drone camera, it's pretty cool, isn't it? So obviously you can hear the engine there, and it appears to be three-dimensional sound as well. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the textures, is there? It looks pretty spectacular. Let's go and have a look around the wheels. That's always a good indicator of the quality. Oops, and yeah, it's there, isn't it? It's pretty good. I am well impressed, to be honest. So there you go. That is the Cessna 414 Chancellor from FlySimWare. It's about $40 or £30 at the moment on the current exchange rate. So go and try it out. And I'm now going to go and have another cup of tea, about my 50th cup of tea of the last few days, and take some more paracetamol. And I'll see you soon.